Hey, this is Jeff from the Humans Connecting team. Our podcast is all about serving, supporting, challenging, and inspiring you to become a connected human. The content of our podcast is of a general nature, and consuming this content is not the same as seeking individual advice from a connection mentor, registered mental health professional, or coach. Conversations about human connection address loneliness. We destigmatize loneliness here at Humans Connecting. We do that by talking about loneliness openly. Loneliness conversations include a range of topics, which at times may be difficult for us to talk about, to hear, or to sit with. If throughout our conversation this is true for you, we encourage you to please contact a mental health hotline. The link in the episode description can help you find some immediate support from many places you may be in the world. Our advice to you is this: meet yourself where you are and how you are right now. If you don't feel up to it, we'll be right here when you're ready. We're glad you're here.
Oh, it's Phil. Welcome to the Humans Connecting podcast. How are you today? Wherever you are in the world, welcome to this episode of the Humans Connecting podcast. And if you are a return listener on through a podcast or a return viewer on YouTube, it's lovely to see you. And if you are a new listener or a new viewer on YouTube or listening for the first time on the podcast, it's simply wonderful to have you here joining us for this episode of the Humans Connecting podcast, and indeed the Humans Connecting podcast whole thing. Because, yeah, it's just wonderful that you're here, because we realize, even if you're a return listener or this is the first time that you've pressed play on content from us, we understand that it takes courage and bravery. Sometimes a lot of courage and bravery, and sometimes not really that much at all, but it still takes courage and bravery to sit with content about loneliness, sit with content about our need for connection. We recognize that, and we want to sort of honor you pressing play, and we're really glad that you're here. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil McAuliffe, and I am a global loneliness thought leader. I'm a loneliness destigmatizer. Simply got no time for the stigma of loneliness. I'm respectful of it, but I want to plow right on through. And I am the founder of Humans Connecting. And here at Humans Connecting, we are all about destigmatizing loneliness, which is a good thing because I'm a destigmatizer of loneliness. So it feels like I'm in the right place, right? And we are here to help you understand loneliness and use it as loneliness is intended to be used, as a way of telling you that you're not getting the connection that you need and deserve, and a prompt that for you to go and get that connection. That's what we do here at Humans Connecting, and all of our products and services that destigmatize loneliness and help you as the glorious human that you are, no matter what you do for work, no matter where you are in the world or what you do or how you identify as a human. We've got support for you at humansconnecting.org. In case you don't know this, I have been working in and around loneliness and human connection ever since, it's getting to 6 years now. I can't believe it's like past the middle of 2024 already. It's like it's already August. And I have been like working publicly on loneliness and human connection since 2018 and August 2018. And I started working on loneliness and human connection. I started doing this work, just calling it shorthand, because I realized that for a very long time in my life, I had been experiencing loneliness, and it kind of had just been my default state. I sort of thought that, how I was feeling and what I was thinking was either how everyone was thinking and feeling, and there was some truth to that, but also that that was just kind of my lot in life. I just needed to kind of accept it and carry on. But the thing was, and you might be at this point already, or have been at this point, the thing was like it got harder and harder and harder and harder to carry on. And by carrying on, it was, keeping the smile on my face and the whistle on my lips to, that became harder and harder to do. And it took more and more effort for me to do that. And the energy that it took to kind of make it look like everything was just absolutely amazing in my life became harder and harder to do. And the irony was, it actually took less energy for me to sit with the thoughts and feelings of my loneliness and begin to understand what I had been trying to tell myself about the connection that I wasn't getting in my life. I was getting some great connection, amazing connection from those around me, from my loved ones, from people that I worked with, friends and family. I was getting amazing connection from them, but I wasn't being me. So the connection that I was getting back wasn't the connection that I really needed. And it registered a bit, but I didn't feel that I was worthy of that connection. So I would kind of dismiss it. I'd downplay it. I'd, find all sorts of reasons to not accept that connection. And I wasn't showing up fully as me. And I say all of this simply as a way to say that I understand how loneliness can make us feel. And your loneliness may or may not have elements of what I just described. There might be a bit of it, there might be a whole lot. It may have just been that I looked into your soul. However, it was, loneliness makes us question our worthiness for love and belonging. And that's deeply, deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And that really does lie, I feel, at the heart of the stigma of loneliness. And, I think I've made it clear, I'm a loneliness destigmatizer. We destigmatize loneliness here at Humans Connecting. We simply have, like, we respect the stigma of loneliness. But not talking about loneliness doesn't really serve us. So how about we talk about it? See how that goes. Generally, in my experience, over the last 6 years, talking about it helps us actually then start to get the connection that we need. Not an automatic response. We don't go, oh, I've destigmatized my own loneliness now. Nope, there I go. Feeling connected now. No. It's a process. It's a process, but it starts when we own our loneliness. And it started for me when I owned my loneliness. It continues for me when I experience loneliness and I begin to go, oh, here it is again. Need to own it, sit with it, all that kind of stuff. I've been doing it. All of that is like, I've just been saying all of that because I've been doing this like publicly for 6 years. And for a few years before that, within myself, with, an amazing coach, shout out to Mike Campbell, and by getting, people in my corner to help and support me to become a connected human. And because of that and my own bravery and courage, which I'm constantly amazed by, I have to say, like I'm here. And I'm not amazed at all by your bravery and courage. You might be amazed at it, and generally we are amazed at our own bravery and courage, but I'm not amazed at it all because I can see, almost by virtue of you being here, that you are brave and courageous. And we often admire the bravery and courage of others much more than we acknowledge it in ourselves. So I have been working on loneliness and human connection since 2018, as I said a few times now. And I started this whole kind of public loneliness destigmatization and helping humans get the connection that they need and deserve. When I started thelonelydiplomat.com, and some of you may have, begun following me as the Lonely Diplomat and have journeyed with me, and you would understand how much I dislike the word journey. Journeyed with me through the days of the Lonely Diplomat and have um, kind of come along with me to humans connecting. And one of the things from The Lonely Diplomat, and if you're curious, The Lonely Diplomat is a service that I started um, for people who were like me and still are like I am. And that is people who have lived the diplomatic life. So diplomats, the families of diplomats, and talking about some of the highs and lows of the diplomatic life, or what it really means to be a diplomat and to live and work overseas as a representative of your government. It's pretty specialized. And I created the service because no one else was talking about it, and I really needed I created the service because it was the service that I needed. And turns out it was a service that many, many diplomats around the world needed. One of the things that really came up from all of this was what I've now termed as the number one connection killer. And you're probably glad that I've gotten there now in this episode, because the number one connection killer is something that I see all the time. And I see this all the time with people who have a job that has responsibilities, that has, people depending on them. I see this um, all the time in kind of like the praise of hustle. And that hustle, that busyness is, I feel, strongly feel, is the number one connection killer. So if that's all you have time for in watching this video or listening on the podcast, that's it. Busyness is the number one connection killer, and there's a few reasons for all of this, and it goes to how busyness is celebrated, or hustle is celebrated. And I'll get to the point about like how we celebrate hustle and busyness in a few moments, where I'll go into a bit of detail. But I want to invite you to sort of role play in our collective imaginations for just a moment. And I'm going to sort of talk about how there is a really common interaction that you may have had a couple of times today already. And if you've not been involved directly as one of the parties, then you've likely seen it. You've witnessed it. And that is what I call the busy off. So the busy off is when two or more humans get together. And I see this most often in kind of like those corridor conversations in workplaces. And, so, your mind might be taking you to your workplace right now, and you're walking down the corridor towards your desk or your office or, wherever you do your work. And it could be along the lines of like you see someone coming your way and, he's like, hey, how you going? Depending on where you are, in the world, that greeting might be a bit more formal, might be a little bit more informal. And, how's it going? How are you? And the answer either that you give or that you receive from the other human is like, I'm so busy. Oh, just flat out so busy. I've just got so many, got meetings coming out my ears. I've got this. I've got, the emails, the phone calls, the text messages, the work meetings, the reports that are due, whatever you do, insert like context, workplace specific context in all of this. And there's a lot of it to do. And the person who's giving the answer is like kind of feeling under pressure. And if you've received that response, then what you're kind of getting there is that, this person's important. I can't, hold them up. Can't chat now. There's no time for dilly-dallying. It's like it's all business. And, that's terrible. I hope, words of consolation, insert words of consolation there. But what you're telling yourself in most instances there is that this person really like they're important. They've got to frankly, they've got shit to do. And they can't like stand around listening to, having idle small talk, right? And then let's replay that kind of interaction from the other part. Someone comes up to you and goes, "Hey, how you going?" and starts a conversation with you, and you respond. As I respond, it's like, "Oh God, I've got so much to do. I've got this to do, that to do, got the," and then there's all these other things that I need to do, and then I need to go home, and then I need to like, help the kids with homework, and then I need dinner, and then I need to like fold all the stuff in the like washing basket and then put it away, and then I got to go to bed, and then try and get all, I'm just so busy. There's like this, that, and the other thing, and then, whatever. Busyness kind of has this, social cachet where it's like if someone is busy, they're important. They're getting stuff done. They're in getting shit done mode. And they've got no time for like, for idle chit chat as I've said. And what we tend to do is, I don't know, I do this, perhaps you do this too, where we go, ooh, ooh, like, right, you've got a whole lot to do. And yeah, like I don't want to hold you up. Um, and what tends to happen in these kind of interactions as well is the busy off, right? And so we kind of feel compelled to like match or exceed their level of busyness, right? And so that busy off kind of goes, "Oh, I'm flat out. I'm doing this." It's like, "Oh, yeah, me too. I'm doing this and that." And it's like, "Oh, that's nothing. Like I'm doing this, that, and the other thing." It's like, "Oh," and it kind of just sort of accelerates, degenerates into this like um, nonsensical, like one-upping where we feel compelled to like prove just how busy we are. Because what we're saying right there in all of that, what we're in hoping this says is it's like as I've said a few times, like I'm important, I'm valued, and I'm worthy of this. At its very core, the busyness means that I'm a big deal. Like the world needs me. This workplace needs me. This community organization, this family, this household, it needs me. And that's like great. And I'm so in demand, I'm so worthy that I simply like I'm just flat out. I'm flat out. Sleep? What sleep? I remember sleeping 3 years ago. It's like, no, not for me anymore. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Um, and it's like, oh, nice for you. If you're having some sleep, I'm far too busy doing all these things for everybody. And so at its core, that busy off is like a statement of our own worthiness. Our own worthiness for the job, our own worthiness for the position in the office, the workplace, the community, the friendship group, whatever it is, that hustle is all about the like a statement, a claim for our worthiness. And that kind of busyness, it all seems really harmless. And it seems really, really, really harmless. And we even celebrate it. We celebrate busyness. It's like, oh, I see, Steve over there, he's so busy, he's getting stuff done. Look at him go. He's amazing. Or like, look at Steve over there. God, he thinks he's so much better than us. And variations of those kind of responses. But we celebrate it. We celebrate the person who is busy. But what really happens here, like there is something sinister going on behind all of this. And it goes to that point that I was saying just before about worthiness. And I invite you to sit with this kind of the discomfort of this sinister underside of busyness, because it's likely to make you feel uncomfortable, as it does me when I'm called on it for myself. We are tying our worth. We are tying our worthiness to what we do and how much we do, rather than where our worthiness needs to be tied, and that is to who we are. I'm going to say that again. It's sinister. This busyness, the number one connection killer, is sinister because we are tying our worthiness to what we do and how we do it, as opposed to where it needs to be tied, which is who we are. That is an uncomfortable truth. And busyness absolutely kills connection, but we celebrate it. We celebrate it. We aim for busyness. And it's so seductive and alluring because if we, have tied our worthiness and our worth to what we do and how much we can do and how much people like need us to do all of this stuff, rather than like having our worthiness as a baseline of who we are and aligning it with who we are. It's really sinister, isn't it? And with with the like, acknowledging the sinister underbelly of what busyness is really telling us, I just want to call out how busyness often turns up. And for me, it really is in the hustle. And this is something that I've struggled with, present tense. I still struggle with this, and I've struggled with it for a very long time. That when we perform and get response, like get positive feedback in return, we want to perform more. So we get more positive feedback in return. And we please, we perform, we perfect, as Brene Brown says. And we get that kind of validation. We feel seen and we feel heard, and we then feel that we belong based on what we do. And when it works, when that social contract is like when it works, like we feel amazing for a moment. And then we need more. We need more and more and more. And, we need to do ever more to get diminishing levels of like worthiness in return. And then when that sort of falls apart, when we work and work and work and work and work, when we do, when we're so busy, and we don't get the response that we're hoping for, I don't know about you, but I get crushed, absolutely crushed, so disappointed. And it makes me question my worthiness. And so I'm like, well, I mustn't be busy enough. So I've got to be more and more. I've got to do more. I've got to do more. Got to do more. Got to do more. And so we try it again. And then this busyness is like it becomes like this. We just become perpetual motion machines. And we become so busy that if someone sees us and gives us some recognition and goes, "You're amazing. You're doing great stuff. Thank you so much." Like the praise lasts all of about 3.5 milliseconds, or it just deflects straight off us because we're so consumed in the hustle, in the busyness. And this feeds loneliness. This feeds loneliness because we simply don't have time for connection. And I want to say this really clearly. The connection that you and I need as the awesome humans that we are, the connection that we each need and deserve only happens in the present moment. It can only ever happen in the present moment. And when we are so busy, when we're in like getting shit done mode, we're not present. We're striving, working really hard for some kind of future state. And we are sometimes completely oblivious to what goes on around us in the present. And knowing this, that connection only happens in the present, we completely miss it. So if we go back to that interaction in the hallway that, you and I imagined, and we sort of go past someone and we're like, "Hey, how you going?" If someone says busy, we can tell, and if we're in struggle, like we need some help, and it might not be like, life crisis kind of amounts of help and support. But we need this person. It's like they might be our boss. We need their direction. We need their input. We need their opinion. We need their, like reassurance. We need them to see us. And if we go, "Hey, how you going? You know, have you got a moment?" And the response back is like, "Can't, really busy. Like I'm racing around like a blue-assed fly right now. This is like, I've got simply no time. There's like this, that, and the other thing." The story that you can tell yourself, as I tell myself, and I know I'm not alone, the story that you can be telling yourself here is that, oh, if I share what's on my mind, what's happening for me, and that I need support, I'm just going to be adding more to their long list. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden. Right. Bookmarking that one for future content and calling bullshit on being a burden. You're a human. You're never a burden, right? I'll just say that for now. But we can tell ourselves that, our boss, our friend, our coworker, someone with whom, we would like their input, their support, we would like them to see us and hear us for just a moment. We tell ourselves that we're going to be a burden if we sort of interrupt them. And so we don't. We don't. We hold it inside. We hold it inside. And then within ourselves, our busyness, so leaving that interaction for just a moment, our busyness is kind of this security blanket. And this is me. This is absolutely me. Busyness as a security blanket means that I simply can't, that there's no, I don't have time to deal with, the discomfort of whatever that's causing me discomfort, whether it's, a loneliness experience, whether or not it's, I don't know, like a pebble in my shoe, or, some kind of mental, emotional, physical equivalent of a pebble in my shoe that would, easily shift if I stopped a moment and removed it. But I'm far too busy. I don't have time. Don't have time to sit and like, take my shoe off and empty out, shake the pebble out of my shoe. Don't have time to do that. And bizarrely, just thinking about it out loud now, bizarrely, how weird is it that I can at least use busyness as the way of keeping myself, as a justification for keeping myself in discomfort, when not being busy, choosing to not be busy, because busyness is always a choice. You can choose to not be busy just as much as you're choosing to be busy. And if you're choosing to be busy to avoid discomfort, to avoid sitting for moments with something that's making you uncomfortable, be it loneliness or otherwise, you're not alone. It's certainly one of my tells that I'm avoiding something is busyness, because I'm simply far too busy to stop. And what I'm saying there is that I'm far too scared. I'm afraid to stop. And so I keep on going. I keep on going. I keep on going. And then what happens when busyness continues, like the thing that I'm like avoiding, trying to deny or wish away, it doesn't go away. It simply stays there, or indeed gets worse. And so inevitably, when I do need to pay it attention, like there are no other alternatives but to pay it attention, I'm exhausted and then needing to pay it attention. So I often equate this again to the pebble in the shoe. If I ignore it for long enough and keep on walking or keep on running, like it's not just the pebble in my shoe is like almost the least of my problems. But because I've missed the clue that I needed to stop and shake the pebble out, I've said, no, 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 I'm worthy. I'm only worthy of running or walking with this pebble in my shoe. And I keep the pebble in my shoe long enough, and I'm keep on moving, keep on moving, keep on moving, whether it's running or walking or whatever it is. And now I have a blister. I've got another problem. So I can shake the pebble out, but the blister still remains. And now it can really hurt to walk. And loneliness can be like that. The thoughts and feelings of loneliness can be like that, especially when our worth is being tied. We've tied our worth to what we do and how we do it. Stopping and not doing that suddenly takes on a whole bigger meaning. Stopping and taking the shoe off, the metaphorical shoe, and acknowledging our loneliness and going, okay, what are you trying to tell me now? It's like sitting with it, shaking it out, going, okay, what do I need to know before I put my shoe on and continue on? Again, metaphorical shoe there. And so, like it's very quick. It's a very quick link there, I find, a quick line, a quick link between like, I simply cannot stop, because if I stop, I like, who am I? Like, I'm not worthy of anything else if I stop. Versus I am worthy of stopping and attending to this, because I'm worthy of like, paying attention to the things that are causing me discomfort and addressing them before they become bigger issues. And busyness absolutely features in all of this in such a way that is sinister, but somehow weirdly praised. And for me, and the people who generally you're smart, you're educated, you are have professional jobs. You're likely like me in middle age, and you have some responsibilities at work, at home, in the community. And if you're tying your worth to what you do versus like it simply is, it's you, and you are inherently worthy of love and belonging simply by virtue of being human, it's easy to see why busyness is the number one connection killer for a few reasons. So you're absolutely not alone in this. This is absolutely my thing. And I'm so very fortunate to have wonderful humans in my life, like Jeff, my partner, friends who go, you know what? That yes, what you're working on is really important, but you also get to stop. You also get to stop. And that's something that I'm working on. I've been working on all through 2024 and incorporating rest into my day, and into my week. So, and because I'm more aware of busyness as my tell, it's like, what am I trying to avoid? What discomfort am I trying to avoid by creating busyness as another discomfort and distraction that's somehow socially celebrated? There's one point that I want to say, and I'll say it after this quick break.
Have you ever been with someone, perhaps it's been with your partner, or maybe while you're at work or out with a group of friends, and despite having people around you, you just feel disconnected? And this is an incredibly common experience, one that I've certainly had many times. And when these things happen, we often don't really know what to do about it. Or worse, we think there might be something wrong with us for having that experience in the first place. Hi, this is Pete from the Humans Connecting team. And if you've experienced what I'm talking about, then you might find our Connection Starter course really helpful. See, these feelings, they're all just expressions of loneliness. And before I did the course, I didn't even realise I was lonely. And I certainly didn't see these feelings as an invitation to discover how I could become more connected to myself, more connected to my people, and more connected to the things that I'm most passionate about in my life. Now, the course itself, it's made up of a series of self-led videos, a comprehensive workbook, and a handful of external resources, all lovingly led and supported by Phil and the team here at Humans Connecting. By the end of it, you'll have your very own personalised connection plan that is specifically tailored to you and your unique connection needs. Look, it's made a huge impact on my life, so if you're curious about improving the connections in yours, jump over to humansconnecting.org and under the products menu, click on the Connection Starter course because you are absolutely worthy of it.
Welcome back. So that point that I wanted to say is all about how connection lives only in the present. And if you're going around all up in your head, just thinking of all the stuff that you need to get done, you're in getting shit done mode, and you're not in being mode, you're in getting shit done mode. And you're missing all of these bids for connection that are happening all around you in the present moment, and you're not present. That you're missing the only place where connection ever lives. Connection only ever lives in the present. And once the present moment has gone, it's gone. And there is no guarantee that the return on your effort, the things that you are doing with so much busyness, will turn out. And the only thing that's guaranteed This might sound very Eckhart Tolle and the power of now. But what you need, the connection that you need, is available to you right now, and you're just potentially sailing right on past it. Like, not sailing. That sounds like, pleasant. You're like in an F1 car, just like going straight past it, and you're missing it. And then you wonder why, you're so tired, and the idea of doing connection feels so completely overwhelming. Saying that to myself as much as I am to you. So I want to say this. Knowing that connection only ever happens now, in the present, connection requires time. It requires you to prioritize connection, to identify the getting of connection as something that is important, because it is. And every human, including you, as with, all the responsibilities, as awesome as you are in your workplace, as awesome as you are, you require connection. You require the connection that you need. And you need to invest time to then understanding what kind of connection you're missing, which again is loneliness. Loneliness's only job is to tell you that you're not getting some kind of connection that is important to you. And then you need to, it's the nudge to then go and get it. So you need to invest time. You need to prioritize getting connection, and you need to invest the time in doing connection. And sometimes this might be a bit uncomfortable. We're all about the discomfort here. Sometimes that requires not doing everything that you think you need to do in order to prove your worth. Because your worth, your worthiness simply is by virtue of you being human. You don't have to put it out to the highest bidder in the hope that they see you and they hear you, only for you to not have it sink in because you're so busy. So I wanted to say, living in the present moment, prioritizing connection right now is really important. That's the way. Calling bullshit on busyness, knowing that busyness is a choice. You can choose to not be busy just as much as you're choosing to be busy. Dramatic pause there to let that sink in again. Busyness is a choice. And have you ever noticed, some of you have, and you've provided this feedback, but if you haven't noticed that episodes of the Human Connecting podcast generally aren't that short? There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, because connection happens when we invest the time. And, when I'm having a chat with someone for the podcast, something amazing happens. Something amazing happens at about the 50-minute mark of the conversation. They say something, there's an insight, there's, something that comes up from our conversation that you're joining us for. There's something that happens in about the 50-minute mark each and every time. It always, I've stopped, I've done a lot of podcast episodes in the past, and I've stopped being surprised by it, but there's something that happens at the 50-minute mark. Now, you might notice that in this podcast, that there's something in the 50-minute mark. And you might notice it, this is my invitation to you, you might notice it in the conversations that you have in person. And you only ever get to the 50-minute mark by investing in the previous 49 minutes. And if you're sort of only having connection and wanting things to happen in life according to your timetable, whoa, this is a message I need to hear for myself. If you're only expecting things in life to ever happen in your timetable, you're only wanting to get the answers from a minute reel on Instagram or a short on YouTube or a 90-second TikTok or a no longer than half an hour podcast episode, no longer, then you're not ready. Honestly, you're not ready. And, you'll get some great insight and stuff, but the connection that you need doesn't happen simply according to, you kind of sandwiching it in between like the busyness. This needs to be something that you prioritize and you get to invest in because you're worthy of it. You're worthy of getting this connection. So pay attention to that 50-minute mark and invest. Get to the 50-minute mark. Prioritize, like make a coffee date with someone at the office or like with a friend, with, coworker, whatever it is. Make it rather than a half hour. Make it an hour. The world will still turn. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do for work. The world will still turn if you have an hour-long coffee with someone. If you have an hour-long lunch, if you have an hour-long dinner with a friend, if you like go for an hour-long walk, whatever it is, if you go for, a soak for like by yourself in a bath for an hour, like something magical generally like happens when we sort of allow ourselves to be. It's where the connection happens. So that's the first invitation there, is to invest the time, prioritize it, and let me know what happens, what you notice happens around the 50-minute mark. And you might, like, once that moment's passed, say to someone, if you're connecting with someone, it's like, I heard this on a podcast. And, like, yep, just wanted to know, we've been having a chat. I've been completely lost in time, but I've noticed that we've been chatting for 50 minutes and something amazing happens. Prove me wrong. And the other thing that I want you to pay attention to is when you are involved in a busy off. And let's just call bullshit on the busy offs now. And don't get sucked in by the busy off. And like notice within yourself when you're feeling dragged in to sort of one up the other person or people in who, you're interacting with. Don't get sucked in to the busy off. And, you might not be able to say this out loud, but you can think their busyness is a choice. And I'm choosing to be present in this moment. I've got a lot to do. You've got a lot to do. That's allowed, but I'm choosing right now to be here. I'm choosing right now to be present in this moment. So you won't get sucked into the busy off from now on. Then if you're feeling extra special, like, I don't know, naughty, you kind of want to shake things up a bit. If someone asks you, how are you going? Like, how are you? It's like, actually, I'm feeling really refreshed and relaxed. Feeling really like present and focused. It's amazing. And because you haven't been following the socially accepted script, like way to derail the busy off. Look at you, you social disruptor, you. You're bringing like, the skipping record sound to the conversation. And you're bringing everyone present into the present because you're like, no, I'm actually, I'm here for it. Like, I'm feeling rested. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. Don't fall into the busy off. That's the second challenge. And the third challenge is this. Send this episode to someone in your life who you feel could really benefit from slowing down. And in the same way that this content whether it's this episode or our previous episodes, have, given you pause for thought, give that gift to someone in your life who you're like, go, actually, isn't it crazy how we're always just so busy? It's crazy. I'm calling bullshit on it. Listen to this. Listen to this episode. It's amazing. Watch this episode. It's amazing. Use this content as a way of starting the conversation if you don't know how to start it, or in other ways. But our third challenge for you is to send this to someone in your life who, is engaged in, who's just busy all the time. It's your invitation. You're letting them know that you are a safe space for them to slow down and to be. And we all need that as humans. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me and the Humans Connecting team for this episode of the podcast. And we just, as always, we'd love to hear from you and hear what you thought about this episode, what came up for you, what happened when you sent this to someone, when you kind of flipped the script on a conversation and said, actually, I'm feeling calm and relaxed right now. I've got stuff to do, but I'm feeling really good. And tell us what happened. Tell us what happened when you flipped that script and you disrupted, the otherwise kind of rote dialogue. And feel free to let us know. You can put a comment on the video on YouTube. You can comment on socials. You can send us an email. You know how this works. And be sure to check out our website, humansconnecting.org, for details about how we help you, how we can help your workplace, how we can help your community organization, how we can help your audience to thrive through loneliness and get the connection that they need and deserve. And we are a social enterprise and are here to make a positive social impact, a positive and measurable social impact. So if you're a business and are looking for ways to support humans to feel more connected, and you also want to have a positive social impact, please go and check the link in the episode description to partner and collaborate with us. And that partnership and collaboration could look like advertising on episodes of the podcast or collaborating with us in other ways. We are really glad that you decided to invest time today and to join us for this episode of the Humans Connecting podcast. We can't wait. We'll see you in the next episode. We're really excited to see you in the next episode. But until then, please do remember that you, me, and all other humans, as humans, we're meant to connect. And we here at Humans Connecting are here to help you get the connection that you need and deserve. We'll see you next time.